Yo, this is George Clinton, better known as Dr. Funkenstein. I'm sure you enjoyed the documentary as much as I enjoyed being a part of it. Now hang tight and check out my good friend Vivian and the director of the film, Stanley Nelson. They got the funk down, y'all. Roof.
I've always been a fan of your work without knowing that it was you behind the lens. Did you always know you wanted to be a filmmaker?
No. I was born and raised in New York City, in Harlem, and like everybody in my neighborhood, I wanted to play in the NBA. But I couldn't play. So no, I bounced around school, college for a couple of years, and I took a film class, and I was like, wow, if this is all I have to do is go and watch films and talk about films and go out with my friends and kind of make films, maybe I can do that. So that was the first time I ever thought about it, really.
So many films that you've made. Although you have written, directed, and produced several mainstream films, you lean to subjects that are relevant to Black people. Freedom Riders, about the civil rights movement. The Black Press, Soldiers Without Swords, about the history of African American newspapers. Shattering the Silence, growing presence and challenges of minority faculty of higher education. The Murder of Emmett Till, and all the way to $2 and a Dream, the Madam C.J. Walker story, which I know is very personal to you because of your mother having been the last president of the Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company. Do you feel it's your social responsibility to tell our stories?
Yes, I feel that it's my responsibility to tell our stories. I don't feel that it's your responsibility or your responsibility or your responsibility. I feel that, your responsibility comes from inside you. So I do feel that, but I don't think that, every Black person has to tell the Black story, or, every Chinese person has to tell the Chinese story. So, but I do feel the responsibility. But I also feel that, that it's the culture that I come from. It's what I know. I mean, time and again, as I saw this film, and this is only my fourth time kind of seeing the film, projected up on the screen. But, I realized that so much of it comes from, the deep understanding or immersion in Black culture, And I gotta apologize for the subtitles. We didn't put those on, but somebody who does not understand Black folks, Black English, put the titles on. So sometimes they're a little bit, what? What did you hear? But anyway.
No, we got it all. Thank you. So what inspired you to make this specific movie, and how long was it from conception to cut? It's a wrap.
I guess in 2019, we did a film called Miles Davis, Birth of the Cool, about Miles Davis, and it premiered at Sundance, and we had a big party, and we always want to try to, at Firelight Media, when we have parties and stuff, to have like dancing parties, like not parties where you stand around a cheese plate and shit, talk about your films. So we had a dance party, and people were dancing, and some of the sponsors of the Miles Davis film said, "Oh man, that was great. What do you want to do next?" And funk song was playing, and I had to answer, right? So I said funk, and it stemmed from there, and I guess that was 6 years ago, until we're sitting here together now.
Was getting the movie funded a challenge?
No, not in the ways that it's usually challenging, because we have this deal with PBS to do 3 films, and this is one of them. Right, Marcia? Is that correct?
Funding's always a challenge.
Yes, but funding's always a challenge.
The wife says.
Yeah, but funding's always a challenge, but the difference is we didn't have to piece together the funding, which usually happens for filmmakers. So when you hear from filmmakers that it takes 10 years to make their film, or 12 years, it's because you got to piece money together. You know, somebody once said to me, it's like, you know, you want to take a trip to California, and some first person says, well, you know, I'll get you to Chicago. And the next person says, well, you know, I'll get you a little further. And another, you know, but nobody ever, you know, gets you all the way. So, you know, you're just piecing it together. But this PBS came up with the budget for the film. But little did I know that it was gonna cost so much and just be such a problem with the rights, you know, and yeah, it's challenging. I mean, because from the beginning we said we want to make this film and use the music that we want to use. We don't want to use, you know, we don't want to use this song because we can't get the rights to this song. We can't get James Brown, so we'll get, you know, James Bond or somebody or somebody. You know, we said, you know, we want to use the songs, and so by and large, that's what we're able to do. But it was, you know, a real struggle.
I was going to ask you about the music rights. I can only imagine.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about that. I mean, because it's just in the weeds, but it's really very complicated. And you know, just real quickly, for so many of these songs, especially, you know, hip hop songs, especially modern day songs, you know, the rights are they're underlying rights. So, you know, if you use Kirk Franklin Stomp, you know, do you have to pay George Clinton because, you know, he ripped off, you know, so it just gets really complicated.
I can imagine. So my husband Ray Chew and I produced a documentary journaling our musical journey in Cuba. And as you can imagine, we encountered many ups and downs in the process. At any point in the making of this film, did you feel as if you just wanted to throw your hands up?
I threw my hands up a lot, but now I never wanted to throw my hands up and stop. You know, I threw my hands up, especially, you know, in the last month when we thought we were through, and then, you know, somebody calls and says, oh, well, somebody called and said they own the rights to We Want the Funk. We got the funk, and I don't know, and the person who's about to sell you the rights doesn't appear to own the rights. You know, just those crazy things, you know, like they just kept coming. But you know, no, but no way did I want to stop, you know, making the film, because you know, we you know, once we did George Clinton, we kind of knew, you know, that we had something.
And by the way, that was a surprise for you. He gives you,
Oh my God!
he gives you his best.
Oh, that was great. That was so great. The little George Clinton thing. I had never seen that before, and the
I
fact
just got it this morning.
the fact that my name came out of George Clinton's mouth, you know, it's amazing to me. If you can send it to me, I'll show it to my kids.
I'll show you my rights to my
Don't even say that.
especially around Marshall, right? Okay. So in the movie, we have such musical powerhouses such as Marcus Miller, Questlove, Kool and the Gang, and of course George Clinton, who all describe what funk is to them. I love the line, there are no sad funk songs. That's so true, right? What is funk to you, and why do you think it resonates with so many people?
I'm gonna punt on that. What is funk to me? Just the way the film punts on it. You know, we realized, you know, early on, at one point, Nicole had done a bunch of interviews, kind of like, what is funk to me? You know, and it was like, so, you know, it could go on forever, you know. And so we just kind of said, okay, well, we use Todd Boyd when he says, I don't know what funk is, but, you know, you recognize it when you hear it, or even more, you recognize when you feel it. And that could, like, excuse us for not defining funk. Because part of what, you know, any filmmaker kind of thinks that the first thing you have to do is, okay, we got to define funk. But you can't, you know, I mean, like he says, you know, when you hear it. So that's my answer.
In the words of George Clinton, funk not only moves, but it re-moves.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Funk, especially in the 70s, became the soundtrack to the post-civil rights movement. James Brown used his own brand of funk music as a backdrop to his activism. We all knew the chorus to his anthem, Sing It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, but it wasn't until I watched the film that I truly heard the line, I'll die on my feet rather than live on my knees. What do you think it is about funk music of that generation that aligned itself to what was going on in America?
I think it was almost impossible at that time, not to align yourself with what was going on. What was going on was so powerful. If the music kept on like, doo-wop, singing about there's a moon out tonight, and stuff like that, it would have been really weird, during the civil rights movement and the Black Panther movement and the war in Vietnam. So I think that maybe the times forced the music in some ways to be more relevant, to what was going on. Just like I hope music starts to change a little bit now.
Yeah.
So do I. And here's my last question. We've seen so many musical genres come and go. Will funk ever die?
No.
All right, that was just what I wanted. Thank you so much, Sarah. So we're going to open the floor to all of your questions. Just put your hand up. I'll call you. Okay, I saw the lady with the red, beautiful necklace first.
It was a great film. I really appreciate it. I've never seen the connection to Africa. I like that a lot, and the way you ended it. People from all different cultures. I thought that was fantastic. Question, I'm not even sure. Maceo Parker, is he still alive?
The question was, are Maceo and Bootsy still around, and are they making music? Are they making music? I know Bootsy is. I don't think Maceo is.
Yeah, I don't think Macy heard.
Yeah.
I think Bootsy's fine, right? Bootsy's
Why
fine.
was he not?
Bootsy was one of those people, that we run into a fair amount who's making their own film or writing their own book or something, usually that never happens, but sometimes it does, and so I don't want to say anything, negative about it. So, yeah, I think there's some kind of film being made about Bootsy.
Great film, wonderful. Just a preface, 18-year-old, I'm 57 now, 18 years old, Berklee College of Music, I heard Matt get right. And it slowly my way changed the way I played music. George Clinton being kind of a reverend of mine, he's 81 now, right?
He's 84.
84. And I had heard that he had some health problems, and I was just wondering how he's doing and if he's actually producing or plans on making any new music.
So the question is, what is George Clinton up to these days? And I can help you with that.
Probably answer better.
Yeah, George will be 84 this July, and he's going back out on the road. And I've been very blessed to be brought in to do special projects for George. So we just got him his Hollywood Walk of Fame star. And in June, he's being inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. So excited about that. And here's something we're going to be really excited about, and that is next year makes the 50th landing of the mothership, and we're putting some gasoline in it. We're going to fly it again. So be ready.
Are you sure the mothership is powered by gasoline?
But it never was. I think they have other chemicals. The mothership.
It's powered by the people.
But I tell you, we just found the original designs for the mothership. It was from a theatrical designer by the name of Jules Fisher. And so we pulled them out. We haven't figured out if it's going to be a virtual mothership or a real mothership. We do know that George said, baby, I can't get in that ship again. So we're going to be inviting what he calls his clones. So Outkast and Janelle Monáe and Bruno Mars and, all the people who are part of the funk clone family. So that's pretty exciting.
I have to say, too, that George Clinton was incredibly generous, and the interview, as you saw him on the film, that's how he was. We didn't know what to expect. You hear so many stories. He was great. He showed up on time, I think, relatively, and he was just great. And his knowledge of music was just, when he started talking about King Crimson and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Cream, he was great, and he was the guy you saw in the film.
Question, not a question, a statement. I'm so glad that you had Sun Ra.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big fan. I was a big fan of Sun Ra back in the day. Went to a couple of his shows, and it was really a presentation. I saw it the first time seeing it was at Howard University. and it was such a presentation. And there's a similarity between what Sun Ra was doing and what Dr. Clinton was doing. So I don't know who came first, or is it, they were just parallel people at that time.
So speaking of Sun Ra, what was the connection between Sun Ra and thinking about Afrofuturism and George thinking that we came out of spaceships?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sun Ra is, you know, credited with being the father of Afrofuturism. I should say that I'm executive producing a film that's coming out of Firelight Films on Sun Ra. It's a film that's fully funded. We're at rough cut stage now. And it should be, it's going to be on American Masters. We're not done yet, so, you know, probably 6 months to a year from now.
Was there any part of or consideration of the Philly sound as
Yeah.
part of this?
Yeah, I think we considered so much, you know, in the film, but we knew early on that you know, if we wanted to cover everywhere, we could do a travelogue, you know, and you know, you could do 5 minutes. And in Philly, you had this, and you know, in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, you had that, and you know, so we realized that we would have to make some choices, you know, and that you know, people would say, question it, you know, like, what about Philly? But we would bite the bullet and offer them some punch afterwards, and just try to go forward. Right on.
How long did the editing process take? Once you gathered, well, two parts. How long was the process of getting all the raw materials and then the editing process?
So how long did it take you to gather all of the raw materials? And then how long was the editing process?
I don't know, Nicole, do you have any idea of
I think it started December of
2012? 2023?
Yeah, and we were editing up until last month.
Yeah, so I've learned, you know, I'm, you know, making films for a while. I try to put as much time in the editing as I possibly can, and then, you know, even when the editing time runs out, so we might say 36 weeks, you know, for a film, you know, then it's not done, and then we have to, you know, we have to add, you know, 12 more weeks or try to raise them, you know, just figure out how we can keep going. So we spend a lot of time in editing. You know, I think for documentaries, the more time you spend in editing, you know, if it's going right, if you know what you're doing, it's time well spent. You know, the film gets better, you know, and you know, and at some point you realize that film's not getting any better, it's just getting different, you know, and at that time you stop.
So for any aspiring filmmakers here, give me one bit of advice. What would be one thing you would want to share?
Two things, you know, see a lot of films. You know, I mean, it's surprising. You know, we all see a lot of films. You know, but then sometimes we don't take that into account. And then, you know, when you're editing, you know, when you start thinking about what you're gonna have for lunch, you know, go back 5 or 10 minutes because probably there's a problem back there. It made you start thinking about lunch.
So how can we see this? When are we going to see it in, and what platform can we see it on?
It's on PBS nationally on April 8th. It's a independent lens special, so it'll be on everywhere in the country at pretty much the same time. If you go to firelightmedia.org, somewhere there's a schedule of the other screenings. Independent Lens, the show that it's on, is doing like 50, 60 screenings around the country like this. So it's going to be kind of all over. But if you go there, you can get the whole schedule.
I can't wait for that.
At the end, with the cultural dancing, when did that concept, even though it was shown at the end, when did the concept originate? And who thought to put country line dancing and the Arabs dancing? It fit. It was perfect. Like, Who came up with that idea?
So the cultural dancing that goes on at the end of the movie, and specifically the country line dancing, and we've all seen that TikTok video of the little Asian girls dancing and all that. Whose idea was that?
I guess was my idea. It came out of one of the huge disappointments that we're just getting used to it in the film was it came out of a song called All Around the World, and so we had dancers from all around the world, and we couldn't get the rights to all around the world, it just got into some craziness where our lawyer just said you just can't really use it. So we use We Got the Funk, and it's still good. But the idea actually probably came from the song. All around the world, singing song. Yeah.
Digital Underground.
Yeah, Digital Underground. It really was nice, but it's fine as it is. But I think that the idea came from the song.
Okay.
Anyone else? Did I miss anybody? Well, I know we're going to have DJ Charles fire up, and we're going to do a Soul Train line, and you and I are going to pick who wins.
No.
Then Miss Marsha, come on.
They just said you. I didn't hear my name called.
But here's my final question. What's your favorite funk song?
I like Flashlight. I think that's probably, would be my vote for the funkiest song ever. But, I love that song. And I think we, do a nice little thing with Flashlight and Renoir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Nelson.
Thank you.